Hey guys, haven't done a furry visual novel Let's Try in a little while, and I want to bring these back. For context, we started doing them as duos with Toaster, but then Toaster got really busy, both because we're doing multiple shows and he's running his own channel. Then I did a couple of them like one-off with like guest stars, but ultimately there just hasn't been people available to do them, so I haven't really been doing them, but I could just go back to doing them alone. That's fine. Different, but it's fine. So let's do this one here. Let's see what we got this week. Windows is protecting your PC. Oh no. Windows doesn't trust free visual novels ever. With both eyes closed is an 18+ visual novel that contains explicit written themes. These may not be suited for all readers. Please be aware that by continuing, you are potentially exposing yourself to triggering, traumatic, and otherwise painful topics. Also, can you please full screen? Is it F4? Alt-Enter? I did it. Do it. There we go. So I am aware of this game because its developer is top 500 in Overwatch and offered to coach me, but then my entire friend group quit playing Overwatch, so I haven't played Overwatch for like 3 months at this point. But they single-handedly wrote, drew, animated, and composed this entire game as far as I'm aware. And they're 18 years old, so what the fuck is my excuse? Is that really what you're wearing? I snapped to consciousness to a searing red in my eye. At first I'm not really sure what's going on, but I quickly realized that in the time I had slept, the sun had moved just enough to beam onto my left eye. I roll my head to the right to rest on my shoulder, trying to reject consciousness. I can tell this won't last long. I'm already feeling pricklings of annoyance, but holding on to my half-awake trance is euphoric. The car smells amazing right now. Is that really what you are wearing? I slouched to the right, expecting a seatbelt to catch me, but to my surprise I fall right through. Right. I'm in the back. I'm able to catch myself by jutting out my elbow against the plush seat, stilting myself up on my forearm. One of the compromises we had to make when we decided to bring Isa with us was that one of us was going to have to sit in the back. Since the chairs are down to accommodate all the camping gear, the seat buckle is completely inaccessible. Isa gets carsick when she's not in front, and Cole doesn't trust anyone else to drive his van. Frankly, I wouldn't trust myself either, even if I could. I don't really mind anyway. I planned to prop myself against the wall and sleep through most of the drive regardless of where I was sitting. Speaking of, what time is it? I fished my phone out of my sweater pocket and forced my eyes open just a sliver. I'm glad it turns on. I wasn't sure the battery was going to last. It's just past 2 p.m. Dude, after tolerating Canadian winters, I'd be fine, even if it was going to be cold. It's not like I have many other options anyways. This is a tiny nitpick I have, but I don't understand the use of question marks in so many visual novels and JRPGs and any text-based, like, dialogue game when the protagonist does know who's speaking. There's like a thing that always happens in Final Fantasy XIV where you hear there's somebody in the distance like, "Ah, Warrior's Light!" And it's like, then the camera pans to the person and you're like, oh, it's the person I already know. I would have recognized their voice because even though we can't hear the voice, the person in the story can. And, like, in this case, the protagonist definitely knows who is talking, even if we don't know as the player yet, and so on. It's just a little quirk. It also is something I complain about even more, just because I'm voicing things, and I'm like, okay, well, why? I don't know who's talking, but they do, so why don't I know? it's a thing I've fixated on. I let the tension in my arm give and slowly slide down until I'm laying on my side. I'm just out of the sun here. I consider going back to sleep before deciding to just rest my eyes, fully aware of the game I'm playing. It's not like I need to be awake by a certain time. I just hope to at least partially preserve my sleep schedule, even with this midday nap. So, you'd buy actual pants if we stopped? Ha! No. I'm awake just enough to smirk at her response. I can't see either of them, but I know Cole is giving her the look. He usually gives it to me if I'm being contrary. It's a sort of smile mixed with a side eye. It's his way of saying, seriously? Sometimes I struggle to find out what Cole's expressions mean, but I've never failed to understand this one. I don't hear either of them say anything for a moment. Oh, come on, Cole. When have I ever dressed appropriately for an occasion? I didn't even wear the right gown for our graduation. I remember, Isa. The dean almost kicked you out of the building. He was furious. I have a knack for that. Those robes were girdy anyways. We spent months fighting to get them replaced. You know, those same rags would have been used for the past 30 years, right? Is girdy even a word? I don't know if I'd call you and Stella's... what'd you call it? Directed complaining? Fighting. I think it just annoyed everyone who had to hear it all the time. It was subliminal messaging, and it would have worked if all of our teachers weren't half-deaf. Before she finishes speaking, I hear the distinct sound of plastic scraping on plastic. This jolts me awake. Hey! Both of them jump a bit, clearly unaware that I'd woken up. Got food without me? I try to decipher the brand from the plastic cup Isa's toying with, but the sun is debilitating. One of the unfortunate side effects of being a nocturnal mammal. I am able to see the outline of the cup. The inside is glowing from the light, barely able to pass through the thin plastic, so the protagonist is the raccoon. She has a paw covering the logo, the other paw on the straw. She must have made that scratching sound while adjusting her straw. Max! Don't worry, I got you something. I see the bear's silhouette reaching back to me, holding a bag. I grab it by the corner and pull it up into my lap. I forget to double-check the brand before diving in, but I have a pretty good picture of what I'm getting into from the smell. I'd figured out Cole had gotten me something greasy before I even needed to open the cardstock box. The sun is still blinding, but I can see clearly into the bag. It's a chicken sandwich, the only kind of meat I'll eat willingly. The patty is round like a burger, with a lightly toasted golden bun. From the outside I can see it has all the usual toppings except for onions. I hate onions. Wow, immersion destroyed. Based on its appearance, I'm pretty sure it's from Patsy's, Isa's favorite fast food chain. Apparently it used to be a high-end restaurant on the East Coast, but now it's basically everywhere. There's one just a few blocks off campus. Cole and I eat there often. I start pulling everything apart in the container, separating the tomato, pickle, and lettuce into neat piles. I hold the chicken patty in my mouth, careful not to let it touch my tongue. The buns lay with their beige, spongy inside directed up towards me, smeared with some kind of sauce. I didn't get a water dish since I wasn't sure how long you're going to be sleeping for, and I didn't want to make a mess. Sorry. A water dish? I'm not sure what that means. I wiped the sauce into a napkin and used another to soak up the remaining glaze. It's alright. I would say more, but I'm preoccupied with shoveling the shredded lettuce into my mouth, losing a few pieces on the way up. Why don't you just get the tenders if you're gonna pull everything apart anyways? They want all the extra stuff, they just don't want to eat it all together. Mm-hmm. I'm barely able to agree, as my mouth is miraculously able to fit both sandwich buns at once. A few crumbs go flying out, propelled by the force of my voice. It's like eating a, yeah, like basically eating a burger with a knife and fork. Girl, you need to slow down. They never ate stuff like that back in Montreal, though. Yeah, just double checking my read. It seems like Isa's talking to Cole more than to me. Can't blame her since I'm still gnawing down newly soggy bread. I don't... I don't like that. I don't like that phrasing. I don't like to think about wet bread. This is what people that don't like onions think like. I still force myself to swallow so I can respond before Cole beats me to it. Not that I really mind. They don't have American burgers in Montreal. I also usually didn't have the money to pay for food in Montreal. Clearly. Cole shoots her a glare. At first I can't tell why, but based on her now guilty expression, I realized that what she was referring to. I try to avoid giving it too much thought. It wasn't really her intention. Not that you look bad or... Just stop talking. I feel a beat of guilt in my throat. It didn't really bother me, so I didn't want to make a point out of it. I'm used to seeing Isa get told off, and she bounces back fast. She won't take it personally. The conversation stalls for a bit, but I really don't want it to die. Cole will turn up his awful music if we start talking. Wait, hold on. Isa, you wore the wrong graduation robe on purpose? You told me you mixed it with the wrong laundry and had to buy a new one. At this point, the only part of the sandwich left is the chicken patty, but I like to save that for last. I reach into the bag and pull out a cup of fries. It's clearly already been picked through by Cole. That was true. Me and Stella tried dyeing ours by putting it in with all of our blue shirts and jeans. The robes were so old they practically disintegrated in the machine. It was like pulling out a spool of yarn. It sounds dumb, but either it worked and we got actually blue robes, or it failed and we had an excuse to buy new ones. Technically, she wasn't lying, though it wasn't really the truth either. The most baffling part of the story isn't even their half-baked plan. Actually, that's not really surprising at all, considering it's Isa. In the time I've known her, she's consistently crafted some of the worst thought-out ideas I've ever heard. How did that even happen? You were dating Cole at the time, right? I look at Cole through the rearview mirror. Her eyes dart away from mine as soon as they meet. I can tell she's far more embarrassed by the story than Isa is. I was totally greening out. This happens right after Isa had gotten me to try smoking. I didn't know my limits. It felt like I was rolling down a mountain while I was laying on the floor. And Isa was also high? Obviously. I have to wonder if this was just weed or something else. This was when she was still close with Stella, apparently. I come to the sudden realization that I have no idea where we are right now. We were stuck in traffic when I fell asleep, and I don't know when we got out. It could be another hour of driving, or just a few more minutes. I poke my head up into the now tolerable sun and peek out the window. Pine trees. Not sure what I expected. The edge of the forest towers over us with great indifference. Their needles choke out the sun, filtering into thin rays of light that sprawl across the dirt and grass. It reminds me of a foreign word for this phenomenon. Homorebi, I think it was. As my eyes pore over the pines slipping by, they begin to blend into a sea that drowns the countryside in green. Cole's van drives on and the trees encroach even closer. They creep until I can hear the low-hanging Okay, wait. I'm not imagining it getting darker, am I? Like, hang on a minute. I'm focusing on the text, but the screen's getting darker, right? They creep in until I hear the low-hanging branches scrape against the car. As you cross over into the dim throat of the woods, the sun's encompassing rays retreat into the sky. I didn't think I would miss them, but I changed my mind as the shadows stretched further, as if seeping through the windows. I watch the last glittering remnants of sunlight fade from view as we take a turn. Isa and Cole's banter is the only thing keeping my focus off the jagged pines that silently observe me, now on both sides. I've spent most of my life in crowded cities. It's taken time to adjust to such a spread out place. And transitioning to this vacant, sweeping forest is even more jarring. Just the thought that the nearest person could be more than a 15-minute drive away is alien to me. I remember Cole raving about how isolated the camping grounds were, how they weren't even official camping grounds. Don't get me wrong, it's undeniably exhilarating. Even I have to admit that the prospect of a true, unaltered camping experience is a gem among rocks. I really want to get some pictures of the mountains. Well, we're gonna hike up to the nearest mountain north. You might be able to get some pictures there. I would wait until you can get a good starry sky. I'm just barely able to catch a few lines of Isa and Cole's chatting. It reminds me of what I've been looking forward to more than anything. An untainted night sky. Cole told me that at this time of the year, our arm of the Milky Way is lined up with the Earth. He explained it to me as the sky being split in two. I've never really seen stars before. There was one major power outage in Montreal, but even then I was barely able to make out Orion's belt. The power outage. I can't help thinking about the dark. Back in the city there were people everywhere, but out here it's just us. And as excited as I am, the atmosphere here is a bit unsettling. I do my best to hide my unease, which is starting to inch back in. I know that if Cole got the hint that I was uncomfortable, he'd be tearing himself apart the entire trip, trying to make sure I was happy. He's been talking about going camping since we met, and I really want this to go well for him. His dad used to take him every year, but it's been a while since that was possible. He really deserves a win right now. Isa and Cole have continued to chat while I studied the landscape, but I haven't been able to track their conversation. The scratching of branches on the hull of the van is almost deafening. I can tell that it's not nearly as loud as it feels, but it's bad enough that I could lose my appetite just as I finish my fries. I can eat the chicken patty later. Are we, going to stop soon? We're about 15 minutes away. Need to go to the bathroom? We can stop. I can feel the car slow down before I'm able to reply. No, I'm fine. I'm just curious. You sure? I mean, seriously, it's not a hole. There's a certain frustration in Isa's tone that catches me off guard. Alright, just checking. Cole accelerates again, causing the scraping to resume. I almost regret telling him to keep driving, but as long as I distract myself, it's not unbearable. I turn myself around on all fours and reach into the mess of bags, boxes, and almost loose items being held in place by sporadically placed bungee cords. I should have headphones somewhere back here. I pull a beat-up cardboard box out from under one of the I finally fell apart. I had a good streak there for a while. I pull a beat-up cardboard box out from under one of the bands and hold it aside while I dig deeper. If I remember correctly, my box should be... As I'm on my knees facing the back, maw deep in luggage, balancing the box in my paw like a waiter, the car suddenly lurches forward. I instinctively sink my claws into my free hand into the polyester car of the seat. My head slams into the roof of the car. I imagine the subdued thud of my skull hitting the ceiling, but it's overwhelmed by the tremors of the vehicle. I exclaim before the pain even sets in. I can tell it's coming. The force of gravity tears my claws along Cole's car seat. Only my middle finger catches, so it could be worse, but I'm definitely going to feel bad about that for a while. Finally, the box I was holding flies forward and falls behind the furthest stack of luggage. I can hear the rattle of plastic and glass against each other. Really hope I didn't break anything. As I look out the back, I can just barely make out something dark and spindly in the dirt road. Sorry, think I hit a root? Definitely a root. You alright? Sound like you hit yourself pretty hard. Yeah, I'm okay. I say that as a dull throbbing pulsates through my head. This is going to bother me all day, isn't it? I can see Isa struggling to hold back her cackle. I mean, seriously, I can see it. She's writhing in place, like the laugh is only happening on her insides. It was the sound, wasn't it? Half the reason I ask is because I'm worried she's going to burst a blood vessel trying to contain herself. Fucking yes, it was the sound! She's barely able to say that before she starts her familiar half-laugh, half-cry. I snicker at myself, even though I don't think it's that funny. Actually, it's really starting to hurt now. I can tell I'm going to get a dreadful headache later. Even Cole was smiling a bit. Dude, you sounded hollow. She's catching her breath between words, still crowing while she talks. Honestly, I didn't even hear it. I was too worried about not dropping shit. I, completely threw one of the boxes in the back, by the way. It's fine. Just pick it up later. I hadn't realized, but the sound of branches grating against the roof had stopped while Isa was laughing. Don't worry about it. Which box was it? I turned back around to check, and it quickly becomes clear that I can't get to where the box fell without rearranging the entire pile. Whichever was on top of my stuff? It was right next to Isa's camera. I try fishing my hand around the back to see if I can catch an open flap or something, but I'm totally fruitless. It's way further than I can get to. Oh, that's all plastic. Should be fine. I turn to face forward again and catch sparkling outside the window as I'm moving. Between the trunks of fast-moving trees, my eyes fall upon skipping diamonds. Reflections of sunlight on a stream cascading through the woods. The water burbles brightly compared to the apathy of the surrounding trees. Whoa, look at the river. My face is awkwardly pressed against the glass for a better view. We start turning around another corner, but the river chases the bend of the road for a little longer. Isa unbuckles her seatbelt and climbs halfway into the back with me. We're both staring out the window in awe. I know, it's beautiful, right? I can hear the smile in his voice. Oh, I need a picture of this. Character! I was wondering when the sprites were popping up. Look at the tail wag. This is very Stephanie horror. Isa's practically crawling over me, twisting while trying to get her camera. I scoot out of her way while she fumbles into place. The camera is a pastel pink box with rounded edges. It's one of the more modern Polaroid cameras, an expensive one at that. Oh, this is a period piece then. That is that immediately sets that up. Like, that is not a new camera. Get ready for no cell phones. Come on. She's straining to keep herself in place. Her elbows are planted firmly into the seat while she brings the box to her eye. The river is barely in sight by the time she steadies it enough to take the picture. The camera makes the distinct clicking sound I love so much. I think I just missed it. The camera pushes out a black square of paper rimmed in white with a shiny plastic covering. As soon as she removes it from the dispenser, Isa starts violently flapping it in the air. You'll have another chance to get a picture on the way back. I mean, we'll probably end up seeing it on a hike or something, too. With that, she seems content to move back into her seat. She shurikens the photo onto the car's dashboard. We keep driving in silence for a few more minutes. I mostly just soak up the environment around me. Our stop is just up here. I can see a small opening of just off the road. It really is just some random clearing. Wait, that's it? Yep. Like I said, not an official camping ground. Cole slows down just as we pass the opening. We aren't gonna, like, get in trouble for being here, right? We start reversing. Cole's cutting it really close to some of the trees next to us. It makes me a little nervous, but I trust he knows what he's doing. Barely anyone comes down this road. We'd be lucky to see another car at all. That doesn't really answer that question. Or at least I think we were hoping for, we're not going to get in trouble because we're not doing something wrong, and we're not going to get in trouble because no one will catch us. Bear. Very goofy bear. He turns halfway around while reversing the car and looks right past me. I can feel my ears becoming hot while I shrink into my seat. I'm sure he notices, because he cracks a subtle smile. Finally. The car slows to a stop, and eyes us out the door before I even have a chance to move. I slide myself along the seats and towards the right side door. With some effort, it slides open and I hop down. My feet reach solid ground with a dull thud, my landing cushioned by grass and moist dirt. My first instinct is to check the back of the van to measure how close Cole was to reversing onto something. The rear of the van is just inches away from a large slanted rock. The trees are no more than half a meter away from the driver's side door. I watch as Cole struggles to open the door wide enough to let himself squeeze out, eventually able to shut the door behind him. You might want to move the car over about a meter or so. Nah, it's fine. Just a bit tight. Meter. I'm tempted to press him to move it, but there's not really any reason to do. I do roll my eyes at his meters comment, though. We're not having this discussion right now. I round back to the right side of the van, eyes as stretching next to a pile of rocks, and I realize is arranged into a makeshift fire pit. It clearly hasn't been used in a while. My legs have been killing me for the past hour. I don't understand how anyone is able to tolerate driving for that long. You did. You literally already did. But no, I get it. I just did the MFF flight, and I always want to die. Like, after like 2 hours of sitting on a plane, I'm like, okay, I'm 6 feet tall, there's no space to move, and I just want to move, and I don't even sit normal. I'm not sitting normal now. I'm sitting like a jackass. I always sit weird. I don't want to sit in perfect plane pose for 5 hours straight, both ways. That is hell. I just need to get up, I want to walk around, I need to do anything else, please just get me out of the seat. And you're there for 2 hours, you're like, please. Driving can be better because there's at least more space, and you probably stop. I don't know, I will habitually stop and do something for a bit, and just escape the drive for a bit, please. She bends over her thigh, reaching down towards her ankle. I can see her spine's impression through her tank top, which is probably a little too small. She makes it work. Isa is nothing if not gorgeous. Well, it probably wouldn't be so bad if you didn't always sit with your legs folded in. You must be running with your hip into the ground. Isa stands back up to switch the other leg. Yeah, maybe. But it's so much more comfortable. My seat was all the way forward, and you know how long my legs are? They tried to put me on the cover of Vogue, but my legs were too long. She traces her hands up her leg while she stands back up. She takes almost every opportunity to do this. The first few times it was endearing. Then it became annoying. But now, somehow, it's endearing again. It was better than the plane ride here, at least. Oh, so we're on the same planet there. You know, you could just always... You could have asked to move your seat back. It's not an issue. I was sitting behind Cole anyways. Dude, when you fell asleep, you were on my side. By the time you were awake, I was already comfortable. As comfortable as I can be in a car, anyway. I considered telling her to wake me up next time, but I decided rather not give Isa permission to wake me up whenever she wants. So, the plane here was bad then? I feel like usually you'd have more to say than just that. Oh, trust me, I do. That's really nothing I haven't said before. Cold as hell, cramped as hell, and the dude next to me stank like hell. Like a musky kind of stink or a BO stink? Like, I haven't brushed my teeth in about a week kind of stink. Ugh, like the guy next to us in Intro to History. I can't get over that. I still can't get over that dude. I could see the cavities on his teeth. I do hope he's gotten help for that, though. No, not as bad as that, but I was breathing through my mouth the entire flight. Alright, y'all ready to start setting up? Cole swings his keys around his pointer finger. The number of times I've seen them go flying off into the brush, and he's still doing that. I don't think telling him to stop is going to help much anymore. Just as long as I don't have to lift anything heavy. I second that, but I don't really mean it. Wasn't counting on it. Isa leads as we wrap around the van, and I notice her shoes sinking into the dirt. Isa's more than capable of running in heels, but that doesn't mean she won't complain about it. I take a drink. It's been half an hour. Just give me a minute. Yeah. You wear down way faster doing it all solo. There's no stops. Unless you just want to hang out and stare at the art silently for a while. What's the deal with sandals with heels anyway? Isn't the whole point of sandals in the name? To function in sand? Heels kind of defeat the purpose. Style points, I guess. Cole unlocks the back doors of the van and swings them open. The left door catches on the slanted rock and makes an awful scraping sound, leaving a blunt mark on the stone. As it happens, it's not the only one. The rock has clearly seen its fair share of abuse. Cole winces, and I raise an eyebrow at him. You sure you don't want to move the van forward? He doesn't respond. Swing it open any harder and we won't even need a match to start a fire. Isa snickers next to me. He ignores me and moves to undo the tangled web of bungee cords holding down all of our backpacks, cardboard boxes, and camouflage green bins. I'm surprised nothing falls out with how cluttered the inside of the van is. Most of it is here specifically for camping, but I can tell some of it's been back here for a very long time. There are marks on the floor mats from where things have been moved around to accommodate the extra luggage. At the very bottom lies a long, textured black box. It has what looks like heavy-duty buckles. Cole has the bungee cords undone by the time I'm done trying to guess what's in the black box. I've decided it's a toolbox. Most of this is my dad's camping stuff, so I'm not entirely sure what all's in here. Tent's the most important thing, so I'll get started on that if you two want to get the chairs set up. Whatever we don't need right away, we can leave in the van. He hands me his folding chair and passes Isa a rolled-up tarp. I'm about to ask where to put them, but Isa's already walking, so naturally I just follow her. She flicks open the tarp in 3 broad, flapping motions and lets it fall to the ground, about a meter from the dilapidated fire pit. The clearing itself isn't all that big. The van takes up about 1/4 of the space. The camp is encircled by pine trees, except for the small break where he dove in. I can feel them dripping humidity down on us every time there's a breeze. Some of their branches are hanging precariously low over the fire pit. It probably won't be an issue unless we're particularly reckless. Okay. Yeah, who am I kidding? You can put the chair next to that log over there. Isa nods to the fallen log lying perpendicular to the van. Oh, gotcha. I get a closer look at the log while I pull the chair out of its bag. It's definitely been used as a seat before, but in its current condition, it would probably crumple under my weight. It looks ancient. It's not a stretch to say it's been through more than the rock behind the van. I can make out what looks like a name carved into it. It's either that or crude profanity. While I unfold the chair, Isa brings the second one from Cole and pulls it out next to mine. Hey, does this look right to you? I show Isa the right leg of the chair. There's a cross-section for support that doesn't look quite attached. Nope. No, it does not. She looks at hers and it has the same defect. Hey, Cole, I think these chairs are busted. Damn, really? He peeks over from whatever he's doing in the back of the van. Isa lifts the chair and waves around the broken piece. Alright, well, just leave them then. I can fix it in a bit. If you say so. I hear a bird, which prompts me to look up. I don't catch sight of it, but I do notice how dark the sky has gotten. The sun highlights the clouds with a light orange while it ducks behind the mountain. I might appreciate the sunset more if I wasn't so aware that the color is a result of pollution. I look back to the van and see that Cole has rearranged some of the clutter. Among the bags he's moved, I see my black backpack. That reminds me. My phone is about to die. Hey, is it alright if I plug my phone in? It's been clinging to life for the past few hours. Course, hold on. He does a little jog to the front of the van while I make my way over. It's kind of cute. He takes his phone off the charger and leaves it on the dash, then holds his hands out for mine. Thanks. Is yours full? No, but it's still got a good 20% left. Not like we need to use it anytime soon. I have another charging cable in my backpack. Would that help? Nah. The cooler takes the other charging port, so we can only plug one in at a... Oh my god! So I guess it's not really a period piece. I don't know, the Polaroids is throwing me off. I guess they must just still make... I've definitely seen people have Polaroids that, like, print photos and whatnot in modern day, but it always feels like a throwback. But they have cell phones. Both me and Cole dart around the van. I'm mentally preparing for a giant spider or a dead animal. Is this a hammock? Cole's chest heaves out a sigh when he sees it. He holds out a blue-orange fabric with rope mesh attached to either end. Each mesh has a metal hook connecting it to a black strap. Oh, yeah. I forgot I packed that. I'm gonna go hang it up. Her tail is batting her legs with a dulled thump. It's nothing she hasn't done before, but I'm reminded how odd it is. I always thought wagging your tail was more of a dog thing, but do foxes do it too? Could also be an Isa thing. And she's running off with the hammock. Or as she's running off with the hammock, Cole goes back to what he was doing. He moves a few more bags and bins out of the way and slides the tent bag out of the pile. Why not put it on top if it's the most important thing to set up? Well, I thought I did, but I couldn't find it. For a second, I thought we might have left it behind. Ideally, we'd have it set up by now. I was hoping to have it done before it got dim, but the damn traffic. He's trying not to get frustrated. I think about giving him some reassuring words, but he probably wouldn't want to dwell on it. Even with my limited camping experience, I know that tents are a hassle, especially in the dark. I've heard low light conditions are fuzzy for most people, but I've always been seen a little clearer in them. Not as well as most nocturnal animals, though. Definitely not as well as Isa, who was able to read her textbooks in the middle of the night. Oh, well, that would be a talent to have. Apparently it was a huge perk for her former roommate. Cole grabs the wrapped up tent and hauls it over his shoulder. Is she gonna be okay over there? She's Isa, she'll manage. Can you grab the bag of tent poles and bring them to the tarp? He gestures with his free hand to a similarly styled bag at the edge of the van's trunk. Yep, got it. I slide the bag of poles out of the van and follow Cole. Isa is tying the hammock up between two trees at the edge of the clearing. I can faintly hear her humming something. It sounds like she's completely missing the notes, as usual. Her confidence is staggering, though. I've never heard someone karaoke quite as hard as her while still being so bad at it. It's sort of inspiring. After she stopped, Cole slides the tent out of its bag and unfolds it over the tarp. I lay the poles out onto the ground next to him. We both hear a thud in Isa's direction and look over. The hammock has fallen to the ground on one side, taking Isa with it. She fell on the fabric instead of the ground, so at least she's not wet. I was gonna say, like, isn't it... I feel like a hammock is relatively hard to hang up, because it has to support your body weight, and so, like, what are you attaching it to make that work for the most part? Whoa, are you okay? What just happened? Yeah. The hammock just totally fell under me. I really hope I didn't get a concussion. I see her wince as she rubs the back of her head. I rub my own head, still sore from earlier. I was right about that dang headache. Hey, now we match. She looks at me disapprovingly. Thought it was only fair. She bends down and picks up a metal hook from the ground. It's bent into a W shape. Feels more like an L, to be honest. Get it? A little drum set goes off in my head. Damn, sorry. I forgot that happened last time I went camping. It's alright. I should have known you were the last to use this. Isa's chest falls as she sighs. She cocks her head slightly to the left, raising her right ear to the woods. I think I can hear running water. Cole and I exchange glances. I try to listen for the wet pattering of the river, but I can't hear anything over the rustling branches and chirping bugs. River isn't far from here. Do you two want to go take a look? Fuck yeah. Why didn't you say so sooner? Let's go grab my camera. You can take your leftovers, Max. I know you didn't finish eating earlier. Just catching up with the fact that this is a trip where a character named Max is taken on a camping trip. I'm like, just change the voice. You could take your leftovers, Max. I know you didn't finish eating earlier. I'm not that good at Goofy. Save me. All right, you'll be okay setting up the tent by yourself? I'll be fine. I've set up more tents than there are miles in a kilometer. Less than one. Uh-oh. He has no idea what that meant. Whoops. Now I'm just waiting for him to get a head wound, and then they're all just concussed or compromised in one way, and that just sets up, like, the horror hallucinations as this game gets unhinged or something. We're at 2 out of 3 already. He winks at me. I open my mouth to correct him, but Eyes is already on the move. Never a moment of rest with her. She grabs her camera and bag from her seat, and I grab the rolled up paper bag with my leftover chicken patty. What direction is it? That away. That away. Cole points a little past where Isa has set up the now collapsed hammock. Is it alright to leave it there? I guess we can put it away later. It's gonna catch an animal. The sound of Cole snapping tent poles together mixes with the crunching of leaves and cracking of branches beneath our feet. There's not really a trail to get there, so it's an awkward trek through the brush. Isa somehow manages to find a path that's relatively free of obstacles, so I just follow her lead. She always seems to get where she wants, regardless of the direction she's walking. It's a bit strange, honestly, but I guess with enough vindication, you can make any location the desired location. Vindication or dedication? Her tail is still swishing behind her. It really is sort of odd. Again, seems like more of a dog thing, but it could be all canines? Although I don't think I've ever seen a fox other than Isa wagging their tail. Certainly not Claire. I can't remember Evan doing it, despite his annoyingly upbeat attitude. Not that I'm one to judge. I get weird looks consistently when I wag my tail, especially recently. Though I don't blame them. It's not easy to tell I'm part dog just based on a glance. Are they a raccoon dog? Like the tanuki, like raccoon dog that they have in Japan or something? Partial. I was about to ask if Isa was part dog and that could just help explain things. Or she's got ADHD. Hey, Isa? What's up, Max? Was just stimming. Why do you wag your tail like that? Just feels right, you know? I might not be wrong. Huh. I guess so. I don't really think about it except with when other people mention it. I don't think about it either. It's just a habit. Why do you ask? I just haven't seen any other foxes do it. It's always kind of stuck out to me. I thought it might be rude to ask. She stops and pivots to me. People ask me all the time. Even my parents did. Well, do. Not as many Canadians, though. I think our culture is more rooted in politeness. I've always been told not to bring up stuff like that. So you haven't always done it? I don't think so. I don't remember when exactly I started doing it, but I think I remember some of my friends did it, and I thought it was cute. Isa does have a lot of friends who are other canines, especially dogs. That's another thing I haven't really thought about. But now that attention is being brought to it... Did Stella wag her tail a lot when you were younger? Her demeanor changes instantly. I only met Stella one time, and she never wagged her tail. Even once. It was so prominent that it was off-putting. If I were her, I'd be worried about straining something. Yeah, she did. Something's bothering her, and I'd like to know what, but I feel it'd be rude to inquire any further, at least for right now. Our ears perk in unison at the sound of running water. It's louder now that we're closer, and we've stopped making so much noise. Isa's mouth curls into a wicked grin. Isa, don't you dare. You're asthmatic, and I know you don't have your inhaler. And she's off. God fucking damn it. Hey, hold on. Animation! We get to see the raccoon. Look at their stubby tail. This is a wow. This is actually it's like a wild thing to just have pop up in the middle of your visual novel. Well, now I know why it says written and animated and composed. It's not just the start screen. This is a really cool thing to include, but it had to have taken so long to make. Oh my god. I'm unable to keep up with the fox as she bounds down the pathway. My sloppy jog is far slower than her, but the orange blur never leaves my sight. I think she's actually holding herself back. I think I've seen Isa run far faster than this in the past, though usually not when she's making me chase her. I can't tell if they're wearing fingerless gloves or if they just have dark hands and light fingers, because both are options here. Come on, you can go faster than that. I've seen it. She bounces around to face me, her face covered in a giant smile. God, the way she runs seems effortless. Even when she's twisted around to face me, she's able to glide right along the path ahead of me. I'm rusty. She's like a freaking bouncy ball. How the hell is she able to move like that? It's like she already knows where every route is and uses them as steps to bounce off of. The growing sound of rushing water begins to flood my ears. Isa must notice it as well, and takes off into the brush. I'm a bit worried she's going to jump right off a route into the river. Who knows how much of a buffer there is between the trees and the water. Color. That is really pretty. Is that Yosemite? I'm not sure. It looks a lot like Yosemite, which I've been to multiple times because it's very local. When I finally emerge from the tree line, Isa's ankles are already submerged in rushing water. Her shoes are perched on a rock next to the riverbank, a few steps from the tree line. I'm panting pretty heavily, but Isa's totally unfazed. Next time you do that, I'm not following you. The rush of blood to my head from running causes my headache to swell. I really should have taken some ibuprofen. I'm sorry, I've been ruined by furries. When I had the chance. Let's take ibuprofen together. The river is wider than I expected, but very shallow. There's about 2 meters of riverbank leading up to the water. The river has a slight curve to it, extending far out of view. Its surface reflects the faint, orangey turquoise of the evening sky. It's even prettier than before. And it can't escape me this time. Isa holds her camera up to her right eye and begins panning around, her feet firmly anchored against the flow of the water. I try to force my breathing to steady in an attempt to hide my fatigue. I want to keel over, but Isa would probably enjoy seeing that, and I don't want to give her the satisfaction. After my breathing steadies a little, I walk down to sit next to her shoes on the rock. I grab my chicken patty out of the bag and take a big bite. I don't know why I said dog bite. I made a habit out of washing my food when other people are around, but there's no reason to if it's just Isa in here. Of washing your food. As raccoon? I only started because of the reactions other people gave me when I didn't. Although my classmates never failed to comment on how much of a neat freak I was. Damned if I do, damned if I don't, I guess. I'm just permanently traumatized by that poor video of like the raccoon that's handed a piece of cotton candy and then they dip it in the water and it just disintegrates instantly and they just like grasp at the water confused and distraught as the food is just gone. It's like, no. Isa's never mentioned it though. She doesn't really care about species, habits, or instincts. It's one of the things that I like about her. Though it has certainly gotten her into a few fights. Cole worries that not being able to wash my food bothers me, even though I tell him it's fine every time it comes up. It's just better to wash it than to make Cole feel like he has to dote on me just because my food isn't damp. That's what the water dish was. Okay. We've caught up with it. That's why Cole was concerned about bringing a water dish, and then they don't actually really care about it. Okay, I don't like. I hate the mental image of getting like an In-N-Out burger, disassembling it, and then dipping all of it in water, and then eating. No! I don't like it. I don't like thinking about this. But just... I'm sorry, I'm so distracted now. But just think about all that shit that's in this water. Like, literal fish shit. I turn my gaze towards Isa. She hasn't taken a photo yet. Can't find an angle you like? The way the river curves is unsatisfyingly asymmetrical. I'd really like to find something that fits into thirds, but... She slowly pans around, eventually facing me with the camera. I'm holding the patty next to my mouth, trying to chew it with my mouth closed. I see her crack a smile shortly before snapping a picture. The camera dispenses a shiny black square framed in white, just like the car. She takes it out and gives it a few waves before tucking it into her bag. I take another big bite of the patty as she steps out of the river and comes up to me. You're pretty cute, you know. Path of least resistance. I place a hand along my cheek to frame my face. I know. I imagine my eyes sparkling like a cartoon character while I stick my tongue out just a little bit. And I fit into thirds, apparently. She laughs and adjusts her bag and camera strap behind her before sitting down next to me. Doesn't letting the picture go out in the sun ruin it? I thought you had to keep them in the dark to process or something. Nah, those are older Polaroid cameras. The new ones will show up just fine regardless of the light they're in. It's really convenient, actually. My photography professor makes us use classic Polaroid cameras, and getting the photos to show up can be such a pain. She holds out her fist towards me. I look at her funny for a second, and reluctantly position my free paw under it. She releases her fist to drop 2 small pills into my palm. Tylenol, for the headache, as payment for the picture. I sigh in relief. I don't know how she knew, but she did. Thanks, Isa. No problem. So, how's school been for you? God, I haven't been thinking about that. Well, it's liberal art. It's... Nope, it's not what I read. That's not what it says. Well, it's library arts, lots of reading and cataloging. Things seem worse and worse, though. Actual libraries aren't really getting funding anymore, especially since especially with blah 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 blah. Especially with the e-book bullshit. Teaching's probably not much better. Oof, yeah, I've heard. My roommate's majoring in education. I think she might drop out. And that's Canadian education. As far as I know, it's not much better than here. Yeah. How about you? Dermatology going well? I mean, it's like a fuck ton of work. I'm up all night studying one or 2 days a week. You'd be doing that anyway as at a rave. Weed. These little internal corrections and thoughts. Weed. Raves were fun. Not many options for that in Montana. I was about to say that. I've got plenty of experience pulling all-nighters. I like my photography classes a lot. I think a lot of my projects are basically pointless, but they give me an excuse to go wherever I want and take pictures. Such as... Isa chews the side of her cheek and looks up to the sky. She rolls her head around, probably stretching her neck. I took pictures at the dentist? Wow, okay, that is pretty mundane. The water really is beautiful. The green and grays of the floor really shine through. I lean forward and stick a hand in, taking the time to appreciate just how clear it is. It's also absolutely chilling. I can't believe you tolerate this water. It's freezing. Really? I find it kind of refreshing. I take the last bite of the patty and lean forward to rinse both my hands in the river. Is that any cleaner? Isa is hiding a mischievous grin. Her eyes are pointed suspiciously far away from me. Don't even think about it. If you try to push me in, Cole will murder you. I settle back down next to her while she plays with a branch, swirling it in the water. Do you think Cole really forgot the hammock was broken? The question doesn't really surprise me. Cole typically takes good care of his stuff, so it's unusual for anything to stay broken for long. But if all this stuff was his dad's, then it's reasonable he'd forgotten about it. Well, I'm not so sure about that, actually. Why don't you ask him? She tosses the branch into the water and leans back with a deep sigh, propping herself up on her arms. Honestly, I don't really want to know. Really? That seems unlike you. I don't want to cause any problems. You two were nice enough to bring me along after all. Just how hard did you hit your head? Seriously though. Well, Cole was the one to suggest bringing you. He caught me off guard for once, so I think you may be overthinking things a little. What happened to your original plans anyway? It's complicated. She doesn't offer any more than that, and we sit in silence, listening to the river. The quiet is nice. I don't get out like this often. I get the feeling I should change the subject. So, meet anyone new? Her eyes roll, but she can't hold back a smile from spreading across her face. Come on, Max, you know how I am. Yeah, and I see the smile you're trying to hide, too. Just tell me. I flop from my sitting position onto my stomach, facing towards her while she shifts in place. Fine. There's a guy in one of my biology classes who's nice. We've been texting for a few weeks, but I don't think he's going to make a move. Alright, that's a start. Keep going. She sighs and scoots around to face me. Her tail is gently pattering the ground behind her. She'll never admit it, but I know she enjoys gushing about her crushes when she gets the chance. Well, he's a reindeer, a little shorter than me, but that's not considering his antlers. Being shorter than Isa isn't saying much. She's staggeringly tall, especially with the extra few inches she gains from her heels she never takes off. He's real thin and kind of dorky. Actually a bit like you in a way. Every time I talk to him, he's sort of a mess. It's cute. Oh my god, this is Stephanie. I'm putting myself together. I'm putting together a picture in my head. Thin, dorky reindeer. Mark Newfield, right? Yeah, you know him? A little. He was on my floor when I was a freshman. Just a few doors down from me. We were both in the Adventurers Guild. He always played marshals, which was not exactly helpful, especially in Curse of Claude. He died twice in half the campaigns I played. Oh, Adventurers Guild is D&D. I always forget about that. I think Adventurers Guild is like when you meet up at a location and you like everyone just kind of gets distributed into little tables and you just play a D&D campaign like as like a one-shot, essentially. Like everyone just sits down for that session and you do a little module and then it's over. I've never been interested in that because one, I'm not as interested in short-form role-playing games as opposed to like full campaigns. But also like I don't want to... The idea is stressful to me to like go sit down at a table full of strangers. In fact, my first ever D&D experience ever was technically a friend taking me into the back room of a card shop to play with a bunch of people I didn't know, but they did, and that session didn't go well because it was a dungeon master that was specifically not prepared for the players to like go off and do things they didn't expect, and they were expecting to like tell the story that they had prepared, and not Dungeon Master, which are two different things. You only played half? Yeah, I transferred here before I could finish it. I really want to get back into it, but there's no club for it here at MSU. Okay, maybe Adventure Guild groups can meet up more than one. I don't know. Whatever. I don't do it, I already said. Cole would probably play it with me. I think he'd like playing as a cleric since it would fit his personality. He definitely knows enough people who'd want to do a campaign, but I don't know anyone who's experienced enough to DM. My first ever character was a monk, and then I didn't play D&D for like a decade again, until college, where I put together a group from in the geology department, and I then played another monk, and then played a hunter, then moved on to a druid, then years later on YouTube played a druid, and then offline with at Marty's place I played a sorcerer who I then remade into Thunder in the Morning as just another sorcerer, but went from tiefling to tabaxi, but remade most of the same character, where it's a weird thief sorcerer. And now I'm finally playing tabletop again on Knoll Playing Games. Hey everybody, go subscribe to Knoll Playing Games. Here's a call to action I'm just throwing at you. Subscribe to Knoll Playing Games. If you liked Cape Escape, it's all over there again, but with a whole bonus show where we have bonus features between the episodes from each week, where I took all of the out-of-game commentary that happened before and after and made a little show out of that. And if you missed Cape Escape and don't know what it is, go watch it. You missed it. Everyone loved it. There's a billion fan arts. And also in January, we're having our new show, Dead Laws, which is not... It takes place in the same universe as Cape Escape, but it's not a sequel to Cape Escape. But there will be a Cape Escape Season 2, which will be our third show, is the plan right now. We've got, this time, we've got George Squares and Horror Buns joining us, in addition to Illusory Wall, and Marty, and Toaster, and me, and Kaz DMing again for Dead Laws. Gay Cowboys, 100 years ago. Supernatural, upside-down world, like Dark Crystal meets Stranger Things or something, I don't know. I haven't played it yet. I don't know how it's going to work out. I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about that. Please go subscribe to Knoll Playing Games. I'm totally rambling. Isa doesn't seem to mind though. Or at least she's putting up a good facade. Every time I'd ask her if she wanted to join a session, she'd call me a nerd. I like this change of heart. What would I play as? What's the cuntiest class? Sound off in the comments, everybody. What is the cuntiest class in Dungeons & Dragons? I'll wait. Sound off now before I press A to continue. I'm trying to remember what all the classes are. God. Blah. I don't know. Warlock? Rogue? Wizard? Bard of Glamour Domain, but I don't think that's the role that'd fit you the best. I guess Bard, maybe. I think you'd probably like playing as a fighter or a barbarian, even if martials are a hindrance. They're all about being in the front, hitting things really hard. You sort of just walk over everything and roll big numbers if you play them right. Like, barbarians have this mechanic where they're able to roll for extra attacks while they're raging, which they can only do a few times a day. They're actually on the better side of martials in my opinion, especially since they can get access to magical weapons, which makes them better against resistant enemies. You need to pair them with the right support. A good cleric or even an artificer can really enable them to be... I've totally lost her. She at least looks like she's trying to pay attention, which is more effort than I give her when she's talking about something I don't understand. Yeah, you went way too hard, Max. Like, you were on the right track when you said the first two lines. It's like they go in the front, they just roll big numbers, and they just kind of walk over everybody. Then stop, because if you go any further, people are gonna be like, what are they talking about? Like, what do these words mean? Back to Mark. Do you think you're going to try to going on a date with him? Well, again, I don't think he's going to make a move. I mean, I'd love to, but I don't want to force it. My head tilts to my left hand. Since when have you been one to wait? Why don't you go ask him about it? He'd probably say yes. I can't imagine he'd turn down someone as hot as you. I could probably put in a good word for you with him. That might be a bit weird. Hey Mark, remember me, the dude who harassed you about your D&D character and hasn't talked to you since? Well, my friend thinks you're hot. You should go date her. Yeah, definitely weird. I do feel bad for the way I pressured him into playing a better class, though. That was mean. Yeah. Yeah. Don't do that. Let people play what they want to play. But that's me also being of the opinion that, like, D&D is at its best when it's not about min-maxing and stuff. Like, if you have to play a better class in order to function, then I feel like it's not a very good table, because it's supposed to be about the scenarios and the people and the characters. And it's supposed to be Diablo 2. Like, the more that D&D becomes like Diablo 2 and entire categories of characters start to feel like they're not valid options, even though they're part of the game, it feels like we're doing the wrong thing, essentially. Just doesn't feel right, I guess? I don't know. I feel like whenever I pursue someone, I ended up taking on 90% of the weight in our relationship. I mean, yeah, it's nice to be able to get a dick in 15 minutes, but it's... Download Bark, get dick in 15 minutes or less. But it's kind of impossible to create an actual relationship. I'm just sick of all my relationships feeling like they're 90% me. Boys never put in effort. If someone makes the first move, it at least tells me they're motivated. You made the first move on Cole, and that lasted a few months, didn't it? That's not a happy face. Isa's paw reaches up to her neck while her claws start combing through her fur, almost like she's trying to pick something out of it. That was more casual, though. Not really a serious relationship. Hasn't Cole told you that? He has, though he didn't really need to. I can't imagine Isa would randomly set me up with an ex she had a serious connection with. Yeah, I know. Not exactly a random hookup either, though. Isa hunches, her head now resting on her hand, while she looks further down the river. That tail is no longer wagging. The silence is back, but this time I don't want to break it. It's no longer as pleasant as it is tense. It's getting pretty dark. It's getting dark pretty fast. We should head back. Alright. After brushing ourselves off, Isa puts her shoes back on. I grab my empty paper bag and we head back the way we came. That's about all the time we have for now. Ooh, spooky. That was a spooky transition. Let me bring up screens real quick. Everyone can make fun of how many tabs I have open again or whatever. Whatever. I'm immune to your ways. Everybody. No playing games. That's how it's spelled. Subscribe to it. Look at all the cool thumbnails. I shouldn't scroll too far down because they will get more evocative eventually. I don't know. But please go watch our show and subscribe to this thing, and then you can see the next show when it comes out. We're all excited about it. That'll be fun. The art is looking great so far. I'm excited about the thing. And then when you're done with that, this goes in with both eyes closed, and you can download the build and play the rest of what's out so far, and then keep an eye and then hit follow and find out when updates happen and all that. Let's see the bio real quick to get a summary of where this one's going. Psychological horror visual novel. Oh,